My best friend always throws herself to the guys I like and put me down in front of my friends, but there's one boy she can't have and it drove her insane. Back in high school, I had a best friend, and for the purpose of this story, I will call Jane. Jane and I had been best friends since we were in diapers. We lived in a small town, went to school together. Jane is also 1 year younger than I am. We had the typical friend fights but nothing serious, mostly over toys and bands. Fast forward, I was grade 8, Jane was in grade 7. A new kid started at our school, I'll call him Todd. Todd was in my grade, and we became friends. He would hang out with me and Jane at recess, which is the only time I saw her in school. After school, we would hang out at her place or mine. A few months after Todd moved to our town, Jane invited him to hang out one day after school too. I didn't care, we were all friends. It wasn't until around Easter that year that I noticed Jane and Todd hanging out more without me. At first, I wasn't bothered by it. I figured maybe they liked each other, which was fine. And it turns out, they did. They started dating. I only started to have a problem with it after Jane revealed to me that her and Todd had intimacy. I grilled her, being the stupid kid that I was, and urged her to tell me if Todd had pressured her. The girl was only 13 after all. She swore up and down that no, he hadn't. In fact, it had been her idea. Our friendship became a little unstable at this point due to the fact that, while it made me uncomfortable, anytime Todd was over at her place while I was there, they would disappear into her bedroom. Anytime I tried to talk to her about it, she would accuse me of being jealous and make fun of me for still being a virgin. Duh, I was 14. I had no interest in intimacy. However, near the end of the school year, Todd broke up with Jane. Fast forward again, I started high school. Jane was still in public school, and we didn't see each other until after school. She constantly asked questions about high school, but more specifically, about the boys. I would give her vague answers, usually. Jane starts high school. She is absolutely boy crazy, throwing herself at my guy friends. Here is where I really started to question our friendship. Of course, I brought Jane into my friend group in high school to spare her the awkwardness of starting high school alone. She would constantly put me down in front of everyone, asking my guy friends out of the two of us, who would they rather F, etc. Just vulgar things. The guy I had been dating for a few months broke up with me, and the next thing I knew, they were dating. This pattern continued for years. I could not tell Jane who I liked, or she would sleep with them. I could not date someone or she would sleep with them. Once they were with her, they would stop talking to me or be downright rude to me. However, there was one guy she could not have, and I knew it drove her insane. Enter Cole. A bit of context: my older sister had moved to a different province and met her now husband, who I'll call Max. Max and Cole are still best friends to this day. Cole added me on MSN, and we became long-distance friends. If one of us had a bad day, the other was there to listen. We shared funny stories about school, homework, friends, everything. Over the course of a year, Cole had become one of the most important people in my life. This drove Jane absolutely wild. She constantly demanded I give him her email so she could add him to MSN, and back then, Skype as well. I adamantly refused, because I didn't want to lose Cole as a friend like all the other guys she'd gotten to. After a while, Jane stopped asking, and I figured the issue was over with. Let me tell you, I have never been so wrong in my life. I remember waking up one day to the most confusing message from Cole. I don't remember his exact words, but instances like that continued for a while until